Okay. Does it say live on yours?
Yes, we are live.
All right. And I'm Corey, and this is Fallon, and we are doing the ethics case study. Um, and the first case study is called Culture and Gender Issues in Early Childhood Classrooms. So, sorry. That one is the mother and son from Somalia, and the father doesn't want the son at the school to play in the like the
Kitchen,
household. Yeah, he doesn't want them to
right?
play like to play house and him be in the kitchen at all. And the mother didn't have a problem with it when she was there, but the father clearly does.
Right. Because when they visited, she was answering questions, she was participating, she was being part of it. But once the family educator went to their home, she did not even speak.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
for the all the potential relationships, you'd have um, a strong connection between the family and their culture. So their social norms and the family members around them. So you want to pay attention to so clearly they are Somalian, so they have a lot of Somalian family. And if their family starts behaving differently, they may be embarrassed. You know, they may feel strange when they're around all the other family that does partake of their cultural norms. So they one strong relationship is the relationship to how they were raised and what they believe in, and anything deviating from that could cause embarrassment to that family.
Right.
That's something to pay
And,
attention to.
and for us, it may seem strange, but it's definitely a culture thing, which it may be normal for the father to be the stronger one
Yeah,
and the one that decides and talks about everything. But in this case, you know,
yeah,
it's definitely the strong family, the parent, the dad is the one that makes the bigger decisions.
yeah. And so that's going to be a big one. And how you so the father and you, the life educator, and the father and the child, the father and everyone else, and then the child's relationship with those around him as well is something to pay attention to, because if he's suddenly not allowed to do the things that all the other kids do, there could be embarrassment or uncomfortableness there as well. So those are some relationships to pay attention to. Um, and
Let's see.
the relationship, and asked what do we know about the quality or development of the relationships. I think that the father has definite dominance of those relationships, and it seems pretty developed if the mother doesn't even talk whenever someone comes around. So I think that must be pretty developed.
And also, in the principles, one of the main things that we have to keep in mind is that we have to respect the cultural beliefs, the backgrounds, and the differences, and the engagement they have as a practice. We have to be sensitive to that, the diversity that they have. You know,
Yeah, 100%. Um, Step two, the application of principles. So we have to look over that code of ethics and identify um, the ones that apply to the relationships in this sort of situation.
okay.
Um, and the principles and how they'll be relevant to guiding the ethical behavior. Um, so,
Okay, so I just mentioned one. It's actually number 3 under relationship with parents and families, um, which is that one, the cultural beliefs and the
yeah.
backgrounds.
And I think that that's probably the biggest one on here for that one is just you have to respect the way the family is raised. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you're trying to limit your child," but you have to understand where they come from and what they believe. It may not be an option in their mind. So it is important to respect that cultural difference for sure. And I
Right.
think
I also like number 5 that it says I will respect and accept parents and other family members for who they are,
Yeah.
and recognizes their, their development and their circumstances. So in this case, it applies a lot the fact that they are, it's a different culture, completely different, and what may seem different to me, it's totally normal to them. Um, but it doesn't mean that they're being disrespectful or anything like that. We just have to be sensitive to that, to the need, mostly to the needs of the child, because he's the one in a different culture. He's the one that's being incorporated into a different culture.
Yeah. Which is going to be hard. And I also under the same one, numbers 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those are big too, about communicating respectfully with the family members, being open and truthful about what services are provided. Just being truthful, like if he asks you not to allow the child to play there,
Right.
I would still probably say like it's going to be difficult like all the other children, but we definitely understand your culture. We'll definitely extend that. Just be as open as possible and truthful. And it also talks about number 9, supporting diverse family values and by acknowledging and examining their parenting practices. So just saying like, I totally see what you're coming from. I understand, and like trying to work with them, but being honest with them at the
Hmm.
same time. And number 10 and
Right.
11 talk about including the family and the parents in all of the decision-making processes, as well as being proactive and allowing them to um, encourage that healthy child rearing. So
Right.
I think
And I
that,
think by keeping, just like you mentioned, by keeping the father involved as much as possible and keeping them informed and saying the truth to him, it's a better way for him to, because he mentions if anything is different than that, I'm going to pull him away. He's threatened with that.
yeah,
So then in this case, the clearer the things are, the better it is for him to understand and for us to respect, and being respectful and clearly with him
yeah,
and open communication.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, that's a big one. And so I think that that will be a big one as well. That's good. I like that. Um, and number 14, it says ensuring that all family members have access and are encouraged to participate in family education. So I think it's important to still reach out to the mother, like to not let the father totally dominate it and let the mother think she has no say in it. I think we have to understand and respect the culture because it sounds like it's definitely is male dominant, but to still allow that
Hmm.
mother, maybe on her own if she's picking up the child, just to hear her voice,
Yeah,
just to let her know
just
what's
like the
going
first
on.
time that she went.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. If she keeps on going, um, you know, take opportunity when when she comes and shows up, just to try to keep her involved and try to ask her questions so that she can feel like she's being part of it too.
yeah.
Definitely.
And then the relationships with children and youth, part 2, pretty much all of them are applied advocating children with their best interests, but at the same time working with parents. So letting them and encouraging them in their youth to honor their cultural heritage. I think that's a big one. I think as a
Right.
child, it's not as important to you. You're kind of just like, yeah, whatever. This is what it is. But when you get older, you really do identify with it, and it really is a part of you. So teaching them to let them know it's not weird. It's great. Like enjoy it,
Right.
and to
Yeah.
build that and make sure the child understands it and you're an advocate for them in the classroom. I think that's a big one.
Yeah, I definitely like number 5, that provide an environment that is respectful of children and youth and sensitive to the development and individual needs. I think that the fact of, bringing up to, like you mentioned, you don't want them to make fun of him or anything like that, but the fact of bringing up his culture and teaching them also to respect other people's culture, it's a way for us to provide an environment that is respectful for him.
Mhm.
That way he doesn't feel embarrassed and he doesn't feel like, I can't do this. I still have to do like everything like the other kids.
Yeah. Mhm.
Still will be difficult, but at least we can bring it up and they can be exposed to other things too.
Yeah, for sure. And then part three, relationships with colleagues in the profession. I feel like everything is applied as well. Like, I will value and promote diversity, um, and support systems for addressing difficult situations with family members, allowing privacy. You know, those things, you're obviously not going to go around talking about the parents and stuff. You're going to value their diversity, value them, keep their conversations private, but allow them to make them feel that you trust them, and just have that professionalism with them. I think that's big.
And that they can trust you too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
is
really
true.
important. Making sure that dad understands and trusts you as the life educator. I think that's a big one.
Right. I do agree.
And then that last part is relationships with the community and society. And it just says that you understand that you still have to uphold all the laws, as far as like, if you suspect something's wrong, you still have to turn them in to like different agencies if you suspect like there's abuse or anything. So that's just that doesn't super apply to this, but it's important to remember that no matter how trusting you become with that family, if you do suspect anything, you will have to step up and
Any abuse. Yeah,
yeah,
I know. Regardless of the culture, it doesn't matter. They're still in a country where the laws apply to everybody.
yeah,
And if like you do suspect that there's any abuse or any sort of danger for the child, we definitely have to advocate for them and report it.
yeah. And so that kind of goes into step three too, if we want to transition to that, where it talks about potential contradictions between the principles, because you want to respect their culture, and
Right.
our culture may not be male dominant, and it may not think like limit gender to things, but their culture does. But at the same time, if you suspect that the husband is not treating the wife and family in a healthy way, or that he maybe is like being verbally abusive or mentally abusive or even physically abusive, those could contradict, because it is their culture. They may not think it's wrong. Even the wife, if it's happening, she, with her culture, she may not even think it's wrong. Maybe normal to her. But you're right in saying that you also have the responsibility to follow that law and report it if you think it is wrong. So that's
Right.
could be one big contradiction, is where to draw the line.
And
Okay, it's not okay.
right. And as far as from what we can tell in the case study, when the parent, the educator comes and meets the father and the siblings, it does definitely look like he's the dominating figure in the home, but it doesn't feel like, she still talks, she still says hello, and I don't know, we don't have much information, but yeah, definitely we have to keep in mind that, as well as for the child, if the mother's being abused or anything like that, it still has to be reported, and we have to make sure whatever's best for the child.
And I think so. And we kind of, I guess we did kind of get off topic a little bit with the mother and the husband, but for the child, at least, we have to. One possible contradiction is that the child seems to like playing in the kitchen, and the child seems to have these desires and these affinities to play with his friends. And so, a contradiction would be, what is best for the child? Does he need to fear certain things because that's what his father told him?
Right.
Or is it like, should we talk to the father and say, like, well, you're living in America now, like, it's not, may not be best for your son to fear household work. Like, 99% of the time, it, if he entered the real world of America and he went to a woman's house and expected her to do everything, that's not going to fly very well. So,
Right.
like, what would be best for the child? And so maybe that's
Right.
another contradiction of talking to the father.
Which number 5 and number 4, I mean, I'm sorry, number 5 and number 6, it's mentioning what you're saying, you're still going to respect and accept the parents for who they are. But then at the same time, you have the challenge to help them grow and keep on learning about parenting and about their child's development. So obviously, he's going to be developing a little bit different because of the culture, but it is a little bit it could be a little bit contradicting because you're trying to make him still being accepted into the society because it's different than their culture, but then at the same time you want to respect their culture and their traditions.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and that could be
yeah,
true.
definitely.
And another contradiction would come from you want to encourage the child to honor their cultural heritage, but he also may be struggling if he can't do all the things his friends do. That could be a big contradiction because you want them to feel included, but you also want him to understand that he's different and enjoy that difference. So that's another
Right.
contradiction. So
Um,
step 4 would be, what are solutions to that?
I think that the more we try to involve the whole family, keeping in mind and respecting his, his figure as a dominant, the dominant one at home.
Yeah,
But the more if we meet with all of them together, at least they're informed and they know what's going on. Even though the dad may be the one taking the decisions, or who knows, maybe the dad meets with the wife, and even though he's the one that makes the final decision, he still talks to her about it.
yeah,
Um, but the more we keep them involved as a family, and the more we encourage them to participate in in family education, the better it is for the whole family.
yeah. I agree 100%. I think the biggest cure to any of this is just talking. I think just maybe having like a parent teacher conference, or just sending a letter home saying like, hey, I've noticed some things, like, do you want to like meet with me and we can talk about options, like, or you can like maybe do a phone chat and just say like, well, I've noticed this, like he's feeling sad in the classroom because he can't, just like telling the parents what you see when they're not around. Maybe that will open their eyes, or just being honest with them and saying like, we 100% respect your culture, and like let them know that, but then say like, if you didn't know, these are some consequences that may happen. Like, he may feel alienated from his peers, he may not understand it now because you are not in Somalia anymore. So maybe just bringing it up and just allowing those parents to still have that control over what happens to the child, but just making sure that
Right.
you're open and explaining everything and letting them know what your code of ethics are. So just letting them know, like, I can't allow this to happen, or this.
Right. I think we also have to keep it in mind the fact that we're there to provide education for the family. Still, we have to keep in mind that there's a limit for us. So yeah, we have to advocate for the child and for for all the siblings and their best interests. But then at the same time, we have to know that the parent will always know what's best for them, especially in such a in a culture like in a strong culture like Somalian culture.
Yeah.
So, I mean, keeping in mind and just being respectful and mindful of that, but we can still work with the parents and the family, still advocating for the child and the siblings.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So,
And also the contradiction with the child and his peers. Just again, I think the other part would just be like to teach him how to celebrate his differences, but just having like talking with him, saying like complimenting him all the time, just like really building him up. I think again,
right.
communication is the answer for that solution. And step 5 is the selection of actions. So we need to select one action or a combination of actions that reflect the adherence of the ethical principles. And all of the principles are important and should be addressed in a thoughtful way. So I think we kind of already picked that, just like asking the parents to meet, and explaining what you feel, what you see, and what your limits are, but also letting them know that they still have total control of the child. You totally respect that. Um, but
Right.
letting them know that you do have limits, like you can't let this happen, or you can let this happen, but like just letting them know what you are capable of doing, but what you can and cannot do and what you feel is right, but letting them know that
Right.
they are the parent and letting them have that confidence still.
Yeah, I think the biggest one definitely is that communication and that respect. But definitely, it's ours also a responsibility to let the parents know we also have a duty to care for the child.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely just keeping, I think as a whole, keeping the family together, working together, regardless of the culture and the dominance of the father, as long as we keep that family together and we inform them together as a family, I think it makes it a little bit better, and it will, the father will not feel threatened, that he's not being included in things.
Yeah. I think
So
that.
I think that he will be open. He will definitely be open
Yeah, I think that.
to letting the child still be part of everything, and he will know that we're trying our best to respect his request.
Yeah, that's a big one too. I'm glad you said that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, then the second case study is the one with where you're helping toddlers and you're noticing this toddler has some developmental delays and you're noticing that the
So
mother is kind of nervous. What was that?
know that both the mother and the child have some developmental delays.
Yeah, and that you. Oops, sorry. And then you kind of get a feel from the mom from some of the things she's personally said to you that the father is a little iffy, but also from other people have also got that feeling. Some of your coworkers, and so the questions are: how can you support the mom and daughter without causing upset in family relationships? And you have told that the father will put the family away from any support if he feels threatened. So how do you fix that? Um, so the step one would be to identify any relationships. So you have the relationship of the father with the rest of his family. So clearly that's not very
Right.
healthy. And clearly the father is kind of squashing the rest of his wife and his child. They're struggling. And then you
Right.
also have the relationship you can provide to that child. You can build that child up. And then the
Mhm.
relationship between you and the mother and the father. So if
Yeah.
you are not, you have to be extremely careful around them because if you say anything wrong, the father could remove them from the situation and any
Right.
help you could provide is gone. So
Yeah.
you have to be
So we have
gentle.
several ones. We have, yeah, like you mentioned, we have the father with the whole family, us with the mother, us with the child, and even the mother with the child, because she's the one that is being part of the family education.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay,
And then um, the application of the principles. So now we look at code of ethics again and think about some main ones. Um, I think the first one, 1.1, be aware of the power or the impact that you have on the parents and the family relationship. I think that's probably the
right,
biggest one here. You have to be aware that you have the power to change and possibly really help this family, but you have to be extremely careful because if you make any wrong steps, if you go in with your guns blazing trying to fix everything, the father will completely
right,
remove them. And so you have to be aware of your impact and you have to be confident and sure, but you have to be really gentle and think of a way that can really help them instead of, you can't be as open maybe, I think. You have to kind of have to,
or as aggressive as, yeah,
yeah,
definitely. I like number 5. I will respect and accept parents and other family members for who they are, recognizing their development level and their circumstances, knowing especially that both the child and the mother have developmental delays. We have to respect and accept the parents and still for the responsibility they have as educators and nurturers, regardless of the developmental level.
yeah. And
So
I
we
also
definitely have
think
to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and the fact that the parents like we've been trained in what is okay for a parent and what's not. But some people, I mean, if you grew up your whole life and your dad was really mean and your all of your family is just male dominating, or the if you see your whole life you've been taught it's okay that to be treated this way, it's okay to be treated this way, and then you marry a man who treats you that way and he's really dominant and mean, you don't necessarily think it's wrong. Like you don't some people have been taught things that are incorrect or unhealthy, and we have to recognize where they are developmentally and where they think what they their whole life have been taught. Sometimes it's not their fault. The way that they are, the things that they accept as normal or healthy for their children is what the way they were raised. And so we have
Right.
to recognize that some people are not these big mean people. It's just the product of bad family life.
Right. And along with that, I think um, which one is it? I think it's like nine, no, eight, nine, and 10. Um, eight, that talks that we have to be open and truthfully about the nature and the extent of services, keeping in mind, that we have a responsibility to report any type of abuse. So to let them know that those services are available to them, that they can still feel safe and things like that. And then that we have to support the family values by acknowledging and examining parenting practices, especially that they need to have a healthy family relationship. And
Yeah.
like we, at least from what we read in there, they're afraid. It's like the dad is the one threatening to just pull them away. So we just have to try to involve them all so that they can start developing better parenting practices to have a healthy relationship.
Yeah. And
Right.
I think also that's going to probably be the biggest contradictory one as well, because all the things you said are so important and they have to be done for you to help this family. But what if the family doesn't want them to be done? Like, how do you like
Yeah, to what point do you, yeah,
push
you
it?
can't force them. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And like
very true.
so, like you said, number 8, I think remaining open and truthfully about the extent of the services provided, and like at what point, because you kind of have to deal with a fear of the father taking them away, or a fear of the
Right,
father, like you clearly will want to talk to the mom about it, but what if she feels like this huge pressure on her that you talk to her about this, so she tells the husband, and then like do you separate, like do you tell the mother and not the father, and then will that cause conflict in the mother and father's relationship, or like, do you
right,
tell, if you tell the father, he could take them away. So, like, do you want secrecy? And then that would break your ethics of being truthful, like
right,
secrecy by only telling one spouse. Or,
right. And at the same time, because look at number 12, we have to, we have to be private and keep confidentiality, but still be respectful of the family members and their legal rights. So it's tricky. That's definitely a contradictory one.
yeah,
Because I mean, what if the mother does tell you, "Look, I don't want you to say this to him because I feel like I'm not safe or whatever." I
yeah,
think we have to be very mindful and very sensitive to the needs of every single family member.
yeah. I,
Right.
that would be really tough. And I've actually been in this situation when I was in high school. I started to date a guy, and turns out his family, his dad was really physically abusive, mentally abusive, every type of abusive you could imagine. And
Oh,
the mom was just so quiet. She didn't talk, she didn't do anything. And my first couple times around them, I got like a bad vibe, but I thought maybe the mom was just shy and the kids just were naturally shy like her. And the dad was just really outgoing. But it was actually that the dad just was really, he had to be in control and he would stop at nothing. And so the brothers wanted to get away, and the mom was being really abused, especially. And so the brothers all wanted to get away, but they knew if they tried that the father they had tried once, and the father just totally hurt the mother, like beat her really bad, and said, if you ever try and get help again, I'll kill her. So like they're
Right.
I don't know that this situation would be the same, but the fear was still the same of, if I try and leave, if I try and get help, what are going to be the
Right.
consequences for me? Like, will he come after me? And like they have this mindset that they can't do anything, and especially with this young daughter, she's
Very limited.
an
Yeah.
infant, like she can't do anything at all. So, but the mother must have extreme fear for that daughter if she feels
Right.
that the father would do something. So
And you know what? I think one something that we can do in that case, because I mean, to a certain extent, we are tied. But then number 13, it says that we can provide a program and environment that is safe and nurturing to all family members. So as long as they know that they have a place where they can go and feel safe, you know, it's one thing that we can also do, regardless of the other responsibilities that we have as family educators.
yeah,
Um, but we can always provide that to them so they can always come to us um, in case, they do need it.
yeah, and yeah, I think that having the program, you're right, is really important. And I think the best plan of action would be making it a goal to just being friendly to the mom when she comes to pick up the kid, like having small talk, creating that relationship with her, and then maybe she'll come be more forthcoming about things that are happening in the home. Maybe she'll be more forthcoming about fears, and then you can talk to her in a more personal level of like, this
Right.
is what I've been noticing. Hey, I like you so much. We're friends. I want you to know you can trust me. This is what I'm seeing. I want you to know that like this and this and this are options for you. I can talk to social services. We can find you a safe house. I think you're being abused. This is what's going on. And just let her know like there are so many options, and I can keep it private and confidential for you. But you also let her know like if it's more prominent, I will have to talk to someone about it, but I want you to know that you'll be safe. I want you to know that it's part of my job, but I'm also your friend. And like, that's the part about
And
making her feel safe in the ethics, I think, is really making
right,
sure that you have that healthy interpersonal relationship with them.
right. But we do have to keep in mind because under relationship with colleagues and the profession, number I think it's number 5 and number 6. Number 5 talks about defining really the role as a parent and as a family life educator and practice within the levels of competence. So it's really important that we give them our trust, but that we also recognize that there's a difference between personal and professional values
Yeah.
in the different interactions. Because, that way they know they can always come to us, but that they have in mind that definitely we're professionals and we want what's best for them. Um, and that they have to be open as much as we are open to them also. So
Yeah. And when you said that, I just thought that probably could be another contradictory one, is that if you are
right,
being really buddy buddy with them, and they tell you about something that may be happening in the house, and then you go turn them into social services, they may feel betrayed and they may not open up again. So just
right,
being open about your professional standpoint from the beginning is really important.
right. And I think that if as long as we're open, I think they will still consider, if they can see that they can trust us, they can still come to us for help, which I think is the whole point of, like you said, setting up front our our role as family educators.
Yeah, that's great. So do you agree that our action should be to try and make a strong interpersonal relationship with the mother when she picks up the child, to make a point of developing that, and but to let her know that it's still a professional relationship, but to the point, like let her know what her options are, and then to maybe, I think maybe even have a meeting. I don't know, having a meeting with the whole family, I feel like would be a bad idea, but I think
Yeah, but
talking
I
to the
think it will
mother.
be needed. It will be needed because we're listening just to her side of this. Not that we have to be the judges, but we only know her side of the story. And again, she has developmental delays too. So we need to see how they interact together, all of them as a family, in order for us to make a better judgment, a professional judgment.
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't mean that we always have to do it, but I mean, we definitely have to have at least one with the whole
my
family.
fear is if we did it with the dad, that it would that he would withdraw and leave them, and pull them from the school. If you talked with the mother, had enough evidence from her side to at least have social services come in, and they can actually go into the home and evaluate it. So maybe letting the social services be that judge may allow you to get that foot in the door where the father could not remove the family from the house.
Which I think we still have to make the attempt. At least, it doesn't mean, of course, we can't force it, but we have to make the attempt to involve all of them in the family.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're not going to bring up the fact of, oh, we're going to take you to jail. Oh no, you shouldn't be doing this. No, but we're going to bring a safe environment to them. And obviously, it's our responsibility to do or report any type of abuse if we consider that there's any. That's
Yeah.
why it's so important to keep the relationship with her in a professional level. To know that it's our responsibility. We cannot, if we suspect of anything, for her safety and for the safety of the child, we have to report it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's really good. And I think that's the best plan we could do is get close to the mother by just talking to her when she comes, and the father when he comes, maintaining that friendliness, but also that strong professionalism, and then having a meeting with them and just letting the mother know she's safe, that she can come to you if she's afraid of the father. And then also at that point, just refer them to the social services if you feel that it is needed. I think that would be our best plan after you meet.
Definitely. I agree.
Yeah, and that's the end of both of those. I'll close this out in a second, but I did just look, and I think we have another thing we have to do with case management. I didn't look at that. But I'll close this now.
Okay.
And then I'll post it on YouTube.
Okay. And then you'll have the link. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll post it on there for both of us. And then real quick, if you want to look at I'll post it on that, and then I'll look at the case study thing, and we can.
While you're doing that, yeah, I'll check on the other thing.
Okay, sounds good. See ya.
Bye.